Why do the most ruthless people often rise to the top, while the honest ones get left behind? Why is morality seen as strength, until it becomes a weakness? Today, we dive into a brutal truth. The world doesn't reward virtue, it rewards power. And those who take it. Imagine this. You're surrounded by people chasing success. Some play fair. They work hard. They cling to integrity, believing the world will eventually recognize them. Others lie. They manipulate. They step on anyone who gets in their way. And here's the part that stings. They're the ones who rise. They write the rules. They own the game. They win. So ask yourself, why does the system seem designed to favor the ruthless? Why does the world celebrate those who don't hesitate, who break rules, silence opposition, and do whatever it takes? History doesn't. Whisper the answer. It screams it. From emperors to warlords, from billionaires to CEOs, the pattern repeats. The most cunning, the most relentless, the most unapologetic rise. But this isn't just bad luck. This isn't some glitch in an otherwise fair system. It is the system. And if you want to understand how the world really works, you have to step into the mind of one of the most controversial philosophers in history, Friedrich Nietzsche, and confront one of the darkest truths about human nature. Power is not a reward for goodness. It is a prize for those who dare to seize it. We're taught a comforting story, that success is the result of hard work, talent, and moral integrity, that good people win in the end. But history, business, and politics, they tell a very different story, one that is far darker and far more honest. Power does not go to the most deserving. It goes to the most strategic. The world isn't built to uplift the virtuous. It is engineered to serve those who understand how it works and aren't afraid to exploit it. Success, more often than not, isn't about fairness. It's about control, strategy, and the will to do what others won't. Why do corrupt politicians thrive? Because they understand the game. They don't waste time preaching justice. They focus on influence. They tell the public what it wants to hear, manipulate systems to stay in power, and silence threats before they grow. A leader who clings to moral purity but fails to secure power will always fall to someone who knows how to win without playing fair. Morality, when the goal is domination, becomes a liability, and history proves it. The most powerful rulers weren't the most ethical. They were the most strategic. They made promises they never intended to keep. They built alliances only to break them when it served their goals, because they understood one simple truth. Power is not given, it is taken. Why do ruthless CEOs dominate entire industries? Because business isn't charity, it's war. A CEO who puts fairness above performance, loyalty above results, or ethics above expansion will be destroyed by competitors who make the hard decisions they refuse to make. The companies that survive, they're the ones that cut jobs when necessary, crush competition, and exploit markets, labor, and resources with precision. It's uncomfortable, but it's the truth. The economy doesn't reward kindness, it rewards dominance. Why do history's most legendary leaders have dark pasts? Because greatness and ruthlessness often walk hand in hand. Alexander the Great didn't conquer the world through gentle diplomacy. He burned cities to the ground. Julius Caesar didn't rise by honor. He betrayed the very Senate that empowered him. Napoleon didn't build an empire by following the rules. He rewrote them to suit his ambition. Power isn't about being kind. It's about having control. The rulers who left their mark on history all understood the same truth. A leader must be feared before they are loved. Fairness? That's a story, a convenient illusion, a tale told to keep the weak in line while the powerful rewrite the rules. Who wrote the rules? Society tells you to be fair, to play by the rules, to believe that in the end, good people will win. But ask yourself, who created those rules? The answer is unsettling: the very people who benefit from them. Workers are told to be loyal, even as corporations cut them loose the moment they become inconvenient. Citizens are told to obey the law, while the elite bend and rewrite those laws for their own protection. The masses are told to believe in justice, while those in power manipulate the legal system like a game board. Fairness, then, is not a universal principle. It's a narrative, crafted to maintain control. And in the real world, the rewards don't go to the obedient. They go to those who understand how the system works and act accordingly. Power is not deserved, it's taken. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't just question morality, he ripped the mask off. In his groundbreaking work Beyond Good and Evil, he made a radical claim: morality is not an eternal truth. It's a tool, a carefully designed illusion, used by the weak to shame, control, and restrain the strong. What we call good and evil, they're not universal laws. They're social constructs, engineered by different groups to protect their interests. The purpose of morality depends on power. Here's how Nietzsche broke it down: those who cannot seize power for themselves, the powerless, create moral systems that demonize ambition and glorify submission. They paint strength as dangerous. They call confidence arrogant. They preach humility and patience, not because these virtues elevate, but because they keep others from rising. Meanwhile, the strong, they see morality for what it really is: a cage built to contain those who could otherwise rule. And this leads to Nietzsche's most powerful concept: the will to power. At the heart of human nature, Nietzsche argued, we are not driven by a desire for peace, happiness, or even survival. We are driven by something deeper, something primal, the desire to impose our will on the world, to bend reality to match our own vision. Power is more than politics. It's creative, psychological, cultural. Power isn't just political. It isn't just about armies or governments. It's psychological. It's intellectual. It's creative. The greatest minds in history, philosophers, artists, warriors, revolutionaries, they weren't passive seekers of peace or justice. They were conquerors of meaning. They reshaped society, rewrote culture, redefined morality, not to fit into the world, but to remake it in their own image. The will to power isn't about cruelty. It's not about domination for the sake of it. It's about transcendence, overcoming limits, breaking free from weak moralities, and forging a new path. Those who embrace this mindset, they shape history. Those who reject it, they become footnotes in someone else's story. Two moralities, one system of control. Nietzsche saw the world divided into two competing moralities. Master morality, the morality of the strong. This is the code of leaders, creators, and warriors. It values strength. It celebrates ambition. It's built on the pursuit of excellence and greatness. Those who live by master morality don't wait for approval. They don't seek permission. They take what they desire. They define their own values, and they judge themselves by how much they overcome, not by how well they conform. Slave morality, the morality of the weak. This is the mindset of the ruled. It values obedience, victimhood, and submission. It's built not to rise above, but to make peace with mediocrity. It tells people to suffer nobly, to be humble, patient, and quiet. Not because it lifts them, but because it stops them from ever becoming a threat. Instead of striving for power, they resent those who have it. Instead of chasing victory, they demonize those who succeed. They preach kindness, not to uplift others, but to contain ambition, not to elevate humanity, but to keep the herd in line. And that raises the most important question Nietzsche ever asked. Will you live by the morality given to you, or will you create your own? Why you're taught that strength is evil. From the moment you're born, you're taught that strength is dangerous. That ambition is selfish. That power is something to be feared, not pursued. Why? Because if the masses believed otherwise, they might rebel. They might question their place in the system. They might refuse to submit. So instead, they're taught a morality that praises obedience, patience, and humility. Not because those traits are inherently noble, but because they make people easier to control. Morality is a choice, not a law. Here's the truth. Nietzsche forced us to confront. Morality is not a law of nature. It's a choice, a set of values. You can either accept blindly or rewrite intentionally. If you cling to traditional morality without question, you'll remain powerless, trapped in a system designed to keep you that way. But if you reject it, if you dare to forge your own path, you become the architect of your destiny. History doesn't remember the obedient. It remembers the ones who stood out, who rose above the herd, who refused to play the game the way it was written. And here's something else most people won't tell you. Success is not random. It doesn't go to the kindest, or the most moral, or even the most deserving. It goes to those who understand the psychology of power. Because behind every empire, every fortune, every legacy is a set of psychological laws, patterns that reward certain mindsets and punish others. The traits that build power across history, business, and politics. Those who rise to the top don't do so by accident. They do it because they possess certain core traits that separate them from the masses. These traits are the true currency of power. And the people who master them, they dominate the world. Let's break down the four most important ones. Ambition, the relentless. Desire to rise. Ambition is the first and most critical trait. It's a hunger, so deep and burning, that nothing but victory can satisfy it. Ordinary people settle. They accept their conditions. They make peace with mediocrity. But the ambitious, they never stop climbing. They see every obstacle as a challenge, every failure as fuel. Ambition isn't about wishful thinking. It's about obsession, an unshakable belief that you're meant for more, and a refusal to accept anything less. Look at history's greatest leaders, CEOs, and innovators. None of them were content. They wanted more, and they took it. 2. Decisiveness. Act or be left behind. In the world of power, indecision is death. The weak hesitate. They overanalyze. They wait for permission. But the powerful, they act. Decisive leaders make moves with speed and confidence. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them, while others are still debating. The winners are already 10 steps ahead. Now, decisiveness doesn't mean recklessness. It means trusting your instincts, committing to a path, and adapting as you go. Most people avoid risk because they're afraid of rejection, loss, or failure. But the powerful, they understand that risk is the price of victory. Fearlessness. Using fear as a compass sphere is what keeps average people stuck. They fear standing out. They fear criticism. They fear the unknown. But the powerful don't avoid fear. They use it as a compass. If something scares them, that means it's worth doing. Think about the most successful people you admire: conquerors, revolutionaries, entrepreneurs. None of them played it safe. They were willing to bet everything because they understood that fortune favors the bold. Strategic ruthlessness. Know when to break the rules. The world talks a big game about fairness, but those who rise to power, they know a darker truth. The rules are only real if you believe in them. The powerful don't follow rules blindly. They analyze them, they bend them, and when needed, they break them. They know when kindness is a strength, and when it's a weakness. They know when to play nice, and when to strike. Strategic ruthlessness isn't about cruelty for its own sake. It's about effectiveness. It means doing what needs to be done without hesitation, even when it's uncomfortable. Power. Without mastery is a loaded gun. Rules only exist if you believe in them. And the powerful? They don't follow rules. They study them. They obey them when convenient, break them when necessary. They know that kindness can be a tool, but also a trap. That mercy, when used blindly, can become weakness. This is strategic ruthlessness. Not cruelty for the sake of cruelty, but clarity, precision, effectiveness. It's about removing emotion from decisions, cutting loose what holds you back, doing what must be done, even when it's uncomfortable, even when others won't. The cold truth of power. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Success doesn't favor the most moral, it favors the most effective. The world doesn't reward kindness. It doesn't pay dividends to fairness. It doesn't honor morality. It rewards those who understand and apply the psychology of power. The winners, they aren't the most ethical. They're the most ambitious, decisive, fearless, and strategic. And if you want to rise, truly rise, you must develop these traits. Because in the end, power belongs to those who take it. But here's the catch. Power is seductive and dangerous. The climb to the top is thrilling. But if you don't master power, power will master you. Those who rise through dominance, manipulation, and ruthlessness often believe they are untouchable. But history tells a different story. Julius Caesar, the target of his own success. Julius Caesar was one of the most ambitious minds in history. He was ruthless on the battlefield, cunning in politics, charismatic enough to bend the Roman Republic to his will. But what made him rise also made him fall. He became too powerful, too dominant. The Senate saw him not as a leader, but as a threat. His allies grew uneasy. His ambition, once an asset, became a target. In 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated, not by his enemies, but by those who once stood beside him. His fall was not a coincidence. It was a consequence. Napoleon, the man who conquered. Too much Napoleon Bonaparte reshaped Europe. He turned France into an empire. His military brilliance was legendary. His strategies were revolutionary, but his hunger for power, uncontrolled. He invaded Russia, ignoring every warning. He underestimated his enemies. He overreached. What began as confidence turned into arrogance, and what rose as an empire collapsed into exile. Napoleon's story is a brutal reminder. If you don't learn to control your appetite for power, it will consume you. Corporate giants, from titans to cautionary tales. This lesson doesn't just apply to rulers or generals. It's alive in the boardrooms of the modern world. Blockbuster once ruled video rentals, until it dismissed Netflix as a joke. Kodak invented the digital camera, then ignored it, afraid of killing its own legacy. They believed they were too big to fall, too dominant to fail. But power does not tolerate stagnation. And the moment you stop evolving, you start falling. Once untouchable giants are now case studies in arrogance, because the same mindset that takes you to the top can be the one that takes you down. The ultimate truth. Power must be balanced. So what's the key? Master power, or be destroyed by it. Ruthlessness alone is not enough. It must be paired with self-awareness. Dominance must be paired with wisdom. Success? It's not just about climbing the ladder, it's about staying there without losing your soul. The dangerous illusion of being untouchable power can deceive even the smartest leaders. The biggest mistake the powerful make, they believe they are untouchable. They think the rules no longer apply. They stop growing. They stop adjusting. And in that moment, they stop mastering power. And power begins to master them. History is filled with leaders who rose brilliantly, only to fall just as spectacularly. So the question is, if you rise, will you learn from history or fall like the rest? Because the key to real, enduring power lies in a single word: balance. The third path, between naivety and corruption, the world doesn't reward blind virtue. But it doesn't reward blind ruthlessness either. Those who follow morality without question often end up weak, exploited, and expendable. Those who discard morality completely become reckless, erratic, and eventually self-destructive. The ones who succeed without destroying themselves, they understand how to walk the third path. They know how to navigate the real rules of power and how to wield it without being consumed by it. Here's how. Rule 1. Reject naive morality. Many people grow up believing that if they're kind, honest, and work hard, the world will recognize their goodness and reward them. But that's a myth. History and reality both tell a different story. The world does not operate on fairness. The strong do not ask for permission, and those who blindly follow moral ideals often become prey to those who manipulate them. This doesn't mean you need to become a villain. It means you must see through the illusion. Play by the rules when they serve you. Break them when they don't. Rule 2. Embrace strength. Develop the traits that matter. If you want power, you must build yourself into someone who commands it, not through deception, not through manipulation alone, but through genuine strength. Set goals so big they make you nervous. Stop waiting for approval. Own your path. When a decision needs to be made, don't hesitate. People follow those who radiate power, not those who beg for it. Ambition, confidence, decisiveness. These aren't traits you're born with. They're forged through intention, discomfort, and self-discipline. Rule 3. Stay strategic. Know when to strike, and when to build power isn't just about domination. The most powerful figures in history understood something deeper. Strategy matters as much as strength. Julius Caesar didn't conquer Rome overnight. He built alliances first. Machiavelli, the father of political realism, taught rulers to appear kind when it served them and be feared when it didn't. Great leaders don't destroy everyone in their path. They build loyalty. They know when to unite and when to divide. Don't let emotions dictate your actions. If ruthlessness is required, use it. If kindness brings results, embrace it. Let your morality be a tool, not a cage. Rule 4. Adapt or die. If history has taught one lesson, it's this. Those who fail to evolve, fall. Empires collapse when they resist change. Companies crumble when they fear innovation. Leaders fall when they become comfortable. The true masters of power are never rigid. They are fluid, flexible, relentlessly adaptive. They're not stuck in one way of doing things. They're willing to shift, to grow, to rethink, and to pivot when needed. Rigidity is death. Evolution is survival. Power plus morality. The final equation: power doesn't have to corrupt. Success doesn't have to destroy. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and conquerors in history understood this. True strength is not in blind morality or blind ruthlessness, but in mastery over both. So ask yourself, will you be a pawn of the system? Will you be a brute who rises only to fall? Or will you choose the third path, the path of strength without corruption? Because the world doesn't reward fairness. It doesn't punish evil, and it doesn't honor virtue for virtue's sake. It rewards one thing: strength, and it gives power to those who understand how the game is played, and who have the courage to play it better than anyone else. Success isn't a reward, it's a reality check. Many people still cling to the idea that hard work and virtue will one day be rewarded, that if they just stay good, honest, and humble, success will eventually knock on their door. But history says otherwise. The people who reach the top, they're not always the smartest. They're rarely the kindest. They're the ones who understand the game and play it better than anyone else. They don't live in fantasy. They see reality for what it is, not for what they wish it to be. Because power, it doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care how hard you try. It only cares whether you understand how it works. Power is a tool, not a virtue or a vice. Let's be clear. Power is neither good nor bad. It's a tool, a force of nature, a neutral weapon that can either build empires or destroy civilizations. In the hands of fools, power leads to chaos. In the hands of tyrants, it leads to suffering. But in the hands of the wise, power shapes the world. So if you want power, if you truly want to rise, you must first be willing to face the truth. Success is not given, it is taken. That means making hard decisions. That means stepping outside conventional morality when necessary. That means claiming your place in the world, not waiting to be invited. But don't forget, power without control will eventually eat you alive. Those who rise without understanding the weight of power, those who crave the crown but ignore the consequences, they always fall, brought down by their own arrogance. Which brings us to the real question: will you master power, or will it master you? If this message hit home, if something in this resonated with you, if you're tired of illusion and ready to understand how the world really works, then subscribe to this channel. Here, we dive into the truth behind power, psychology, and philosophy. Not to feed ego, but to sharpen minds. So, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. Is morality a weakness in today's world? Or can real power exist without ruthlessness? Let's talk about it.